Every time I do a show that mentions the word annulment, I get bashed. And I get it. It really gets under some people's skin. So I really want to start with those of you who have the hardest time with it to say, I am not bashing your annulment. So be at peace. If the church issued you an annulment, then the church said a marriage never existed. The point of my video today is more so for how we direct people. Do not say to someone, go get an annulment. Because what happens when we do that is we give the impression it's something you can go and procure. It's something you can purchase. And we are scandalizing our Protestant brothers and sisters because we make it sound like it really is Catholic divorce. It is not. For those of you that truly understand what annulment is, it is the church checking to see if a marriage ever existed in the first place. You might think that's not a big deal, but let me tell you, I have my PhD in communication, and I know I've studied, and I need to say again, it's how you frame the message changes everything. And if we use the words, go get an annulment, we have communicated to others that it's something that it is not. Recently, there was a young lady that had just divorced months earlier, and I met her in church, and we were mentioning something about annulment. She's like, I got to go get me one of those. As if, yeah, I divorced him, and now I'm going to go do that so I can be in good standing. And I'm like, girl, it's not something you get. Were you or were you not validly married? Remember, there's only two things that the church is checking for. Was there an impediment? The only two things to be married. Remember, nothing matters what took place after your wedding day. They could be Hitler. They could be the world's worst abuser. They could be the drunk, the alcoholic, the narcissist, the every bad thing in the world. And none of that unmarries you. An annulment checks to see the preceding and on that day of your wedding. That's what an annulment is based on. So when you are talking to someone, and I'm not going to get into here again too much about what it is, it's those two things. Did you give consent freely? No one had a gun to your head. And were you free to marry? Basically, you weren't married before. You weren't marrying your brother. You're not a 50-year-old marrying a 3-year-old. It was by natural and spiritual law allowed. You were free to marry. You consented. Boom. That's it. That's it. So without going into how the churches just granted way too many, I just want you to help turn the tide of how people understand annulments. And in your conversations with people, say, well, have you checked to see if your marriage was valid? Oh, it's more words. I don't need to use all those. Yeah, actually, you should. Because you want the people that you're instructing to understand what it is. You want the people who aren't going for the annulment to understand what it is. Because the Bible says that we will make an account for every word that comes from our mouths. So don't tell people to go get something that they have no freedom to get. They are powerless to determine whether or not they get this. Maybe not powerless if they twist the words that they write in their documents. If I'm the one that wants the annulment, I've seen this many times. Sorry if this offends those of you who it's not true for you. Don't get defensive. But for those, it is. I've seen many people where their spouse twisted it to try to make it sound like, yeah, we were so immature. We were only 29 years old and had been in college together and talked with plenty of people took pre-marriage classes 6 times. It is just to say, go check and see. Go check and see if it was valid. All right? Let people understand this is not something you get. This is something that needs to be checked. And then we leave it in the hands of the church. Because there are so many people who know that they were in fact married and they were victimized by this annulment process. I hope you're not one of them. But if you are, there is hope. God's got you. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching another Breakfast with Bacon. And as always, remember to live your life sunny side up.